Random House Audio presents Bloodroot by Amy Greene. Read for you by Lorna Raver, Kirby Hayborn, Jesse Bernstein, Rebecca Lohman, Emily Janice Card, and Richard McGonigal. Part 1. Byrdie Lamb and Douglas Cotter.
Byrdie. Myra looks like her mama, but purtier because of her daddy mixed in. She got just the right amount of both. The best thing about Myra's daddy was his eyes, blue as the sky. They'd pierce right through you. Myra ended up with the same blue eyes. I always figured she was too pretty, and then John Odom came along. Now I'll die alone. It's not that I'm scared of being alone with this mountain. I love it like another person. I just miss my grandbaby. Me and Myra's mama wasn't close. Cleo had little regard for me or Macon, either one. Myra's the daughter I always wished I had. I didn't see nothing wrong with John Odom at first. But even if I'd seen that snake coiled up inside his heart, I wouldn't have tried to stop her. I could tell by her eyes Myra had to have him, whatever the outcome. Now I know the outcome is no good. This morning I went to see her, and it broke my heart in two. I can't stand to think about what he might be doing to her beside of them tracks. Through the years, I got tougher than a pine knot, but something about getting this old has softened me up. I reckon I have too much time to think about my troubles these days without Myra here to talk to. I should have seen what was coming after that time she got in late from the library. She was supposed to have been studying with one of her school friends, but I caught a funny shine in her eyes. "What have you been up to?" I asked. She went to the sink and got a glass of water, gulped it down like she'd been in a race. She turned around and her cheeks looked hot. She smiled with water shining on her lips. "I'll tell you later, Granny, I promise. Right now I want to keep it just for me." "You're silly," I said, but the way her eyes shined made me nervous. Then I got busy tidying up the kitchen before bed and forgot all about it. When I finally laid down, I fell asleep as quick as my head hit the pillow. Thinking back, it was an unnatural sleep, like I had drunk a sleeping potion. I had a dream that I was standing on a rickety bridge over muddy water. The roar of it was so loud I couldn't hear nothing else. Then I seen there was things getting carried off in the rapids. It was pieces of our house on Bloodroot Mountain. The leg off of my favorite chair, the quilt I made for Myra when she was a baby, a drawer out of the kitchen buffet, a baby doll Myra used to play with, some floorboards and a few shingles, and even the front door came rolling by. Then there was a crack, and my foot went through the boards of that old bridge. It started coming apart, jagged pieces dropping and rushing away until I was hanging on by a scrap of rotten wood, my feet dangling over the water. If I fell, it would carry me off, too. Finally, I couldn't hold on no longer. Just as I was dropping, I jerked awake, wringing wet with sweat. I sat up on the side of the bed, heart thudding so hard I was afraid it might give out on me. I should have knowed right then. Grandma Ruth always said it's bad luck to dream of muddy waters.
Doug. Last night I closed the door to the smokehouse where the bloodroot is kept in cardboard boxes, away from the mice and bugs. I stood there, with my back against it, looking across the yard. The house was dark with my parents sleeping and all my brothers gone. Behind barbed wire, the pasture made a chain of starlit humps. I took the feed bag, heavy with corn, to the barn on quivering legs. The cows are sold and the field was still, but from the barn came fitful knocking sounds. Wild Rose never rests. Daddy had to put her up because she's been getting loose more often. I think I know why. Myra Lamb is gone from her house down the mountain, and Rose has been looking for her. I went to the black opening of the barn and turned on my flashlight. The knocking sound stopped at once. I could sense Wild Rose waiting for me in the shadows of her stall. The smells of manure and damp hay turned my stomach. Walking deeper into the barn, I saw the reflective shine of her glassy blue eyes and wanted to turn back. "Rose," I said, "I brought you something good to eat." The horse didn't stir as I came down the aisle, like she knew what I was up to. She's never liked being touched, but she usually lets me strap on the feed bag. I was hoping the taste of sweet corn would hide the bitterness of what I'd laced it with. "You hungry?" It was hard to hear myself over the thudding of my heart. Part of me couldn't believe what I was doing. Maybe I was still in bed asleep. Wild Rose took a few steps toward the front of the stall. I could hear her breath snuffling through the wet channels of her nostrils. Somehow, even before she charged, I knew that she'd figured me out. She exploded out of the stall door as she had out of the trailer the first time I saw her, a storm of splintering wood and pounding hooves, with a scream that threatened to split my head in two. I dropped the feed bag and the flashlight and clapped my hands over my ears. I felt the hot passage of her body like a freight train in the dark, the force of it knocking me down. Then she was gone, out the barn opening and across the hills, leaving me to lie in a mess of spilled corn and bloodroot.
Byrdie. When I was a girl, I lived across another mountain in a place called Chickweed Holler. Until I was 10 years old, me and Mammy lived with Grandma Ruth and 2 of Grandma's sisters, Della and Myrtle. I used to crawl up in Grandma's lap to study her face and follow its lines with my finger. She stayed slim and feisty up until the day she died of a stroke walking home in the heat after birthing somebody's baby. Myrtle had hair soft and white as dandelion fluff that she liked for me to comb out and roll for her. They was all good-looking women, but Della was the prettiest. Her hair stayed black right up to the end of her life, and she didn't have as many wrinkles as Grandma. I reckon it's because she didn't have to work as much in the sun. She was the youngest, and Myrtle and Grandma still babied her, old as all 3 of them was. It was just me and Mammy after my daddy passed away, so Grandma took us in. We lived in a little cabin with a porch up on stilts. I liked to play under there, where they kept mason jars and rusty baling wire and all manner of junk for me to mess in. Chickweed Holler was a wild place, with the mountains rising steep on both sides. From Grandma's doorstep, you could see a long ways, wildflower fields waving when the summer winds blowed. That land was in our family for generations, and Grandma and my great-aunts loved it as good as they did any of their kin. All the neighbors thought the world of Grandma and her sisters. They was what you call granny women, and the people of Chickweed Holler relied on them for any kind of help you can think of. Each one of them had different gifts. Myrtle was what I've heard called a water witch. She could find a well on anybody's land with her dowsing rod. People sent for her from a long ways off. Sometimes they'd come to get her, and she'd fetch the forked branch she kept under her bed and hop in their wagon. She'd be gone for days at a time, depending on how hard of a trip it was. Della was the best.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?